So you were part of the Seven?
I was. Until this one replaced me with A-Train.
Hello and welcome back to our channel, guys. In the last episode with the boys, we saw Homelander and Soldier Boy take off to LA, but it was far from being a vacation. Or maybe some gruesome deaths do count as vacation for these twisted supes. Who knows? Anyway, in La La Land, we finally met the supe who has been name-dropped or slyly used as a visual reference in the previous season. Mr. Marathon made his first proper debut in The Boys. Played by Jared Padalecki, for whom it was a supernatural reunion with Eric Kripke and Jensen Ackles, appeared as this speedster supe. Dressed in a retro-style high-speed superhero suit, Mr. Marathon's journey started and ended in a span of some 20 minutes or so. Interestingly, Mr. Marathon had an equally short run in the Boys comics too. Yes, he is a comic-accurate character, but Kripke gave him a totally different energy in the show. So, without further delay, let's check out Mr. Marathon's origin in the comics to compare how his fate played out in the show.
It's gonna be okay. I'll remember you every time I watch An American Pickle. What?
In issue 66 of the comics, we learn that Mr. Marathon, the original speedster of the Seven, was created by altering Stormfront's DNA. He first appeared in the comics in issue 19, but before I get there, it's important to know that he is largely a posthumous character in the Boys comics, appearing primarily in flashbacks when the Legend recounts the Seven's origins. Thanks to Legend, we get to know that he was the 7th member of Vought's superhero team, Seven, and was replaced by A-Train even before the comics timeline started. His appearance in the comics was clearly a spoof of Jay Garrick's Flash, with Mr. Marathon appearing in a bright red bodysuit, which covered his legs and torso to emphasize his sleek and aerodynamic speed. His costume has some yellow touches, primarily his belt, and as rims of his costume as well as in his shoes. Mr. Marathon's head is covered with a red cowl with yellow wing-like earpieces and a small yellow part at the top. Dark Robertson finished it off with his belt making a M sign in the middle. Yeah, classic running superheroes. So Mr. Marathon obviously had the power of inhuman speed, but somewhere he lacked enough training in handling dangerous situations. And that's what led to his untimely death in the comics. By now, we know that the Boys depicted their own version of the 9/11 attacks, and it accounted for one of the most brutal and crooked exposures of what superculture meant. In issue 21, the cover has a child's face against a plane's window, whose eyes are glimmering with hope by the arrival of Homelander. But how the story panned out is a merciless irony to this picture, I swear to God. It revolved around the infamous plane crash that Huey and us got to know from Legend. He explained how the fighter jet's pilots were suddenly ordered to return to base when there were news of terrorist attacks, and President Robert Dakota Bob Schaefer already asked them to neutralize most of the threat. Of course, it was Vic, the VP, Vought's minion, who interfered so that the Seven could sweep in and save the day. And things went horribly wrong, causing the plane to crash, killing dozens. All due to Homelander's decision. Mr. Marathon too was part of the supe rescue team, and in fact, it was him who asked the question, "Guys, what do we know now?" leading to the realization that none of them had a plan. Homelander decided to just leave and took off when Mr. Marathon realized that he was doomed. So he latched himself onto Homelander's leg, begging the big blue supe to carry him. He even managed to climb on his back to save his life, and it was actually kind of funny. While Homelander attempted to slow the plane by flying through it, he actually broke the aircraft and ended up killing Marathon in the process. Yes, Mr. Marathon did push Homelander to try and do something to stop the plane, but I believe that came more from avoiding being in Vought's bad books than genuine concern. In the show, however, Mr. Marathon became this comical person who was replaced by A-Train after he lost a race, after which Homelander did not give him a chance to win it back. Because according to Homelander, "You're the world's fastest man as long as you're the fastest man," and he got slow. You'd think so. Anyway, Mr. Marathon started off as this B-grade, or probably even lower than a B-grade supe, who was not only kicked out of Seven, but could not even use the Vought IP in his life. Yes, he was then making a whole lot of movies with the stupidest names like Marathon of the Heart, Mr. Marathon Around the Speedyverse, and Mr. Marathon Vampire Hunter, which grossed only $35 million while the budget was $200 million. But hey, the man was narcissistic as fuck, which we figured out by looking at the huge painting in his mansion, so obviously he was defending his work. However, they were all being produced by Sony Pictures TV, which according to Homelander was the place where washed-up supes go to die, and they could not even mention Vought or Vought-licensed superheroes. Mr. Marathon, however, claimed that it was still a legit studio, and he was still making magic. Mr. Marathon was clearly intimidated by Soldier Boy and Homelander's arrival, but tried to hide it with fake enthusiasm, and tried to come off as this sassy, successful film star, who also happened to be the fastest dealer in town. Pills, Ozempic, blows, yeah, he could supply them all. He also claimed that he was such a fan of Soldier Boy that he popped the cherry in his underoos. Okay. So why did the father-son duo suddenly knock on this forgotten soup's door? Well, because he was someone who was deeply interested in Vaught's history. He had this whole room dedicated to Vought memorabilia, and it was so special to him that Mr. Marathon even had a passcode for it. He was basically this collector who found some of the stuff on eBay for $20 and had plans to sell them at auction for millions. And of course, the Vought history nerd became the perfect source who could tell where the V1 was. Mr. Marathon told them that it was not with him, but he knew someone who had it. Bombsight was apparently his best customer for years, and one night, an intoxicated Bombsight spilled that he had V1. In reality, he hadn't seen him in 5 years and had no idea where he was. He then offered to call over Bombsight while he could snort some stuff with Soldier Boy and talk shit about Homelander. Yeah, understandable. But soon, his true intentions were revealed. With the help of another supe, Malchemical, we were preparing a whole other video on him, so do keep an eye out. Homelander was knocked out. Malchemical then tried to manipulate Soldier Boy into stripping Homelander of his powers using his radiation, while Mr. Marathon told him that it would allow him to take over 7. However, in a shocking turn of events, Soldier Boy protected Homelander, fought off Mr. Marathon, and what followed was a chaotic chase sequence between him and Mr. Marathon, with the latter literally running through all of his friends from the industry. Yeah, I guess he was still fast enough. The gore was on a whole different level here, and honestly, Seth Rogen got cooked pretty bad. However, it was Soldier Boy. He did end up getting the upper hand and broke both of Mr. Marathon's legs, but the runner had some serious verbal comebacks, though it ultimately amounted to nothing when Homelander smashed his face by stepping on it in a final shot. And there you go. Mr. Marathon done and dusted. Honestly, his death on the show was actually more R-rated than in the comics. Alright guys, that's all for today. Albeit Mr. Marathon's arc was very different from that in the comics, but it was pretty fun to watch Jared playing this obnoxious character. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!